Tonight, we've got with us Matt Lynch, and Matt's district is, the top portion of Portage County, including Aurora, but going into Geauga County. And so our endorsed candidate is Matt Lynch. Matt Lynch is someone that we've known for several years. He's just a true constitutional conservative. He's got a passion that you're just going to love, and we're just very pleased to endorse him for the Ohio House. So Matt Lynch, come on up. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much. Okay. Is anybody in this room excited to vote? Let's get this done. We've got 40 days. When I checked the calendar and realized we had 40 days until Election Day, I thought, well, it's kind of like Lent when I was a kid, Should I give up campaigning for 40 days? How many of you would like to have all the candidates give up campaigning for 40 days? And I think some of our candidates, we'd like that too. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because we're all in difficult races of one kind or another. I whispered to Larry after hearing everyone talk, I feel like I should get up here and say, yeah, me too. Because much of what has been said is certainly part of what I believe, in the Constitution, that our rights come from our Creator, and that we're losing that perspective at all levels of our government. And if we don't hold on to that foundation of our beliefs, then we really don't have a prayer of holding on to our prosperity. And everyone says this election is about the economy, and it is about the economy, certainly. It's about jobs. And we're, in some ways, blessed in Ohio because we've had a governor and a Republican legislature which has spent the last couple of years turning Ohio around. But you think about that, that people compare the economy to going off a cliff, and they talk about driving into a ditch and thinking, well, Ohio, we're gunning it, but we're not really getting anywhere because we're stuck in the mud created by the federal government and the economy. But we're working hard, and the truth is that we've done a lot in Ohio to turn things around. I chuckled when Larry mentioned the rainy day fund that he wants to have for the county. The state of Ohio has a rainy day fund. We have a fund, a carryover fund, so we can have money for emergencies. And when Governor Kasich became governor, how much do you think was in that fund? Only 89. 89,000? 89 million? 89 cents. Can you believe it? We have a $26 billion budget. We had 89 cents left over. Yahoo! Right now, there's almost $500 million in that fund, thanks to the cutbacks and the control of the budget by the governor and by the legislature. So that's a huge improvement. But I really have to echo some of what has been said about the choices that are before us. This is an incredibly important election, but the choices are very clear. Now, my opponent, I'm happy to say, was not endorsed by the Tea Party, so he's not here tonight. But he was invited to the candidate night that was held months ago, because all the candidates from all sides of the aisle, if you will, were invited. He wasn't there either. And I said to my wife at the time that I thought that was odd, because pretty much if you're running for office, you want everyone's vote that you can get. And so you want the vote of, in my case, conservative Republicans, but I'd also like to reach out to some moderate Democrats. I'd like to get their votes as well if I can. And so you try to go to places where you can get those kinds of votes. But my opponent didn't come, and I wondered about that. But this week, I discovered why that was the case. Because this week, on his Facebook page, my opponent, who happens to be a Democrat, he put a post on his Facebook page that it was time for Ohio to be taken back from the Tea Party extremists. That's all of you guys, apparently. All of you Tea Party extremists. So I wondered, well, gee, I wonder what that means. So I checked Tom's website, and I could see all this extremism there. They want things like a balanced budget and smaller government. And holy moly, they want to actually follow the Constitution in the Tea Party. Pretty extreme. When you think that those views are extreme, then I think you have a brand of America that I don't recognize. And that's what I am fighting for down in Columbus. I won the primary last March and was appointed to the House seat for the 98th district, which, as Tom points out, is being changed now. The 98th district is all of Geauga County, and now the district will include northern Portage County, including Aurora. And so I'm down in the legislature now, although we're on recess now so we can campaign. And as part of being in the legislature, we're learning a heck of a lot. But one of the things that I'm learning is, and Tom will appreciate this, is that I sort of expect a certain brand of politics from those on the other side of the aisle. But I don't expect necessarily the battles you have to fight right inside the Republican Party. And that is really the tougher fight for me. To recognize that not every Republican is a hardcore constitutional conservative as I am. And so those battles have to be fought. And that's why it is so important for the slate of candidates to be elected next month in order to fight those battles at every level. There's two ways we can control government. We can control government by having the state legislatures push back against the federal government and its overreaching. And we can elect people like myself, like Matt Lynch, and like Nick Scariotis in Southern Portage County to do that pushing back. But we can also elect congressmen like Dave Joyce, who's standing in the back of the room, wave Dave, who will from the federal level be pulling the other direction. And if we don't have the right kind of conservative legislators on both ends of that problem, we're really not going to be able to shrink government. And that is my primary goal, to try to shrink government. Today, Rita Scott and a few other extremists, I guess we're down in Columbus, and we went into the belly of the beast, a building in Columbus I'd never been in before. It's the EPA building, And when you're in the state legislature, they give you the fancy ID, and if you're actually a member of the legislature, you get the fanciest of IDs. It opens all the doors, yahoo! But doesn't get you into the EPA. To go into the EPA, they've got, and I went up to the desk and I said, well, I'm a member of the legislature. Here's my fancy ID. Doesn't matter. Stand at the line. We're going to take your picture. A very secure building. And we figured out later the reason it's so secure is because the EPA has destroyed so many lives in this state. And I mean that literally. Businesses that have been put out of business, property that has been devalued and taken from citizens because of this pervasiveness of the protection for the environment. We sat in a meeting today, and an official of the EPA when pointed out that perhaps this project that he was involved in wouldn't include, would not create any improvement in the environment. As well as it doesn't matter if it really improves anything, because I want to lock up this property for 1,000 years. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? When I was a Bainbridge Township trustee, I fought constantly to say, let's not make decisions that will tie the hands of future trustees who in 5 or 10 years might want to do something different. But the EPA has no problem tying the hands of the citizens of the state of Ohio for 1,000 years. That's a bureaucracy out of control. And that's a state government which has grown to be such a behemoth that the citizens can't protect themselves against it. And I am determined that, at least in the Ohio legislature, we will not feed that beast anymore. Now, I don't want to take up much more time because Dave's a much more important guy than me and he's got to speak. But I will tell you that a few years ago, 4 years ago just now, when our president was elected, some of us were a little disappointed. I don't know about any of you, but some of us were a little disappointed. And it was even kind of depressing for me. And I'm sort of a news and talk junkie, but I didn't watch any more news because it was too hard. And I just watched old movies with my wife. We'd sit on the couch and turn on the Turner Classic movie station. I love that station. And one night they were playing the old Sound of Music movie, with Julie Andrews, The Hills Are Alive, that song. And that story was about the Von Trapp family in Austria. And when the Nazis arrived, they plotted and eventually snuck out of the country by climbing over the Alps to freedom in Switzerland with their 10 children and all their instruments, I might add, in tow. And they eventually came to the United States and became very successful and so forth. And it really struck me, the United States has been this beacon of freedom, this, as Ronald Reagan said, this light shining city on a hill. For 200 years, people have climbed mountains, they've scaled walls, they've risked their lives in order to experience the liberty and the prosperity that we've offered in this country. But there's no place for us to go. This is it. We either draw a line in the sand on November 6th and tell these leftists to leave our country alone, or we suffer the consequences. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you really to work in these last 40 days. If you're going to give up something for this next 40 days, give up the American Idol and all that stuff and pay attention to what's happening. Make the phone calls. Go door to door. Put signs in your yard. Take one of the Lynch signs. Take every one of these signs and put it in your yards. And make sure that on November 7th we wake up to really an optimistic state of Ohio, an optimistic country, and a future for our children and grandchildren. Thank you so much.